On this episode of a Soul's Quest podcast, Omar and I will discuss how to deal with betrayal. Stay tuned. So how are you?
What's up? How you been?
I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good. Chilling.
I know
Chilling.
we were talking in some of the episodes that you need me to slow down and stop rambling. So I'm gonna work on my best on when I do it. I just get passionate.
Wrap it up, B.
I know. I get kind of like excited and passionate, and my mind goes into a lot of different places. So I know that I have to work more on just being more succinct and making sure that I'm staying on task.
Speaking of succinct, putting the timer on.
Yeah.
I think what it is I can see your passion coming through. A lot of people misinterpret what that is. I know people have said that you talk too much and whatever, but and I think that what you're trying to do is get people to understand exactly what you're trying to say. But I also think that you have a very expanded thought process, and I want people to understand what we're talking about and not lose our people. You know what I mean?
No, I get it. I get it.
I think that what you have to say and what we're talking about is important. And I think people do want to hear it.
Yeah. I mean, it's humbling. So, it's humbling to kind of like realize there's things that you have to kind of like adjust and learn.
And that's the whole idea of a Soul's Quest.
Yeah.
Right? That's what
and
we
it's
do
pretty,
on ASQ.
it's pretty cool when you start recognizing it, like when you start saying, oh, okay, this and that and the other. And I feel that the way that we do it is something that is intrinsic. It's got me like me recognizing it and say, oh, okay, I could adjust, and not being hard on myself. And if people judge, that's their prerogative, to
that's
judge.
Their problem.
But also at the same thing as any human being, all that you could actually do is always try to improve and become better.
We were just talking about evolution, getting better and advancement and self-development and, things like that. So I think that's important.
Yeah, and you learn a lot.
And it is a lot for you, I think for anybody to admit when you need to improve or whatnot.
Absolutely. So. But I think that's also like kind of like coming with time, that I know that that's part of my growing up process and my growing process. I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to try to be perfect. I don't have to try to do all these different things the way that it should. It's just, it takes a lot of work to, formulate that thought first and foremost, script things and all that.
Yeah. To keep us on track.
But you do a really good job at it. So thank you for that.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah.
So I'm your buddy. I'm your partner.
That's right. my better half.
Aww.
So what are we doing today? What are we discussing?
We are talking about how to deal with betrayal.
Oof. Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, man.
When I thought about, this episode and like what we're going to talk about and whatever, all I could do was kind of run through a lot of the things that I've felt like I've been betrayed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe in some cases betrayal is a harsh word, but it felt like betrayal. It felt like betrayal.
What do you say is a hard word? Why?
Because sometimes you're just like, well, maybe they just didn't mean it. You know what I mean? Or maybe they didn't realize what they were doing. But I think that people know oftentimes more than not what they're doing and how they manipulate situations. And that's betrayal. Manipulation is betrayal.
And I think that that whole idea of the animal aspects of us, of self-preservation, and doing what is best for us is like the driving, because there might be people that, and I know from my experience, I've known of people that know things are not right, but they'll do it
anyways
because they're getting paid,
or they turn
they turn the other
way. They
turn the other way, turn the blind side, turn a blind eye, to situations because it benefits them,
right?
Or
they self-preservation.
Self-preservation.
Some people are making some banging bucks and they don't want to lose their job, so they'll do the wrong thing.
They'll look the other way and they won't speak up. And
how many people do we know like that?
I know quite a few.
Oof.
I know quite a few.
Ugh. Yeah. Me too. You and I both.
We do.
You and I both.
So, but we digress.
No, we haven't digressed. We're talking about betrayal.
Okay, so go ahead. So what?
We need to talk about what betrayal is. So let me read this quote.
Okay.
This is a quote by Malcolm X.
Okay.
To me, the thing that is worse than death is betrayal. You see, I could conceive death, but I could not conceive betrayal.
Yeah.
Those are powerful words.
Those are powerful words, but it's also
What does this mean to you? What is this?
Like, I think that it exemplifies the problem, right?
Okay, how so?
I think so, because like he says, the thing that is worse than death is betrayal, right?
Yes.
I could conceive death, but I can't conceive betrayal.
Right.
Right?
Why is that?
Because that's the naive part of us.
Yeah.
You know, that's, I mean, at that point in time, and I remember that line from the movie,
Yeah.
right? And
such a good movie.
It's a great movie. He should have won an Oscar for that. But that's a different story. That's a different conversation.
Another episode.
Let's just sidetrack. I mean, A Training Day was great, but he should have gotten Malcolm X. He did amazing with that. Go shout out to Denzel. But anyways,
you can conceive death
because again, it's like at that point in life, he's so immersed in his belief, in the religious belief, right? That he acquired up to that point in time, right? Mm-hmm. He believed in it so much that to be betrayed by his closest allies was something that it was inconceivable. We believe the same thing, you know? And that is the fallacy. That's the problem. The problem is that even when we are this is what happens, we are in a group, we belong to something, right? But the individuals in that area, they're about self-preservation and their base interest.
Right.
A lot of the times, the idea, it's not as powerful as the individuals and what they gain. And we don't believe in that. We don't think that.
What do you mean by that? Explain that.
Tell me about how many pastors have robbed their congregations, right? How many politicians have taken advantage of their constituents? Mm-hmm. How many governors, presidents, dictators have taken advantage of their own people based on the idea? People don't know how many people died in Russia for the preservation of a socialist idea, a communist idea that benefited a certain group of people, right? So we can't conceive. To us, the idea is what's important, right? So to conceive betrayal because we are trying to live up to an idea is ludicrous. But the reality of it is like what we really need to be thinking about is the fact that we can't not escape nor be naive to the idea that, like Machiavelli said, you know, that a human being is fickle and greedy for profit.
Yeah.
Right? You know,
that's good actually.
It is. Yeah. It is, because that's the truth. It's like, yeah, you gotta go into situations thinking the best, but you have to be cautious.
You have to be, yeah.
And you have to be wary about the motivations of other people.
Right? It's sad though that we have to be like that in some ways, because you want to believe that you go into a situation with people that you think you know. So that to me means you don't really know those people because you don't know what their motivations are.
Yeah, now the most and
their motivations might be innocent to begin with. You might be on the same page, but once they get in there and things start to sort of reveal themselves and, oh, this could happen if I do this.
Yeah.
I mean, there was I don't remember who told me this or whatnot, but that two people, I don't remember who it was or whatever, they went into business together, and the one was like, well, I'm just going to do whatever I can to make money. And wasn't telling the partner that he was doing it. And he went and did it anyways and was like, no, you just take care of this and I'll take care of this. And ended up like doing some illegal shit.
No, yeah. Right? I mean, and that happens a lot.
And that happens frequently. So this is a story that I'm telling that sort of is like a general idea. But we actually know people like that.
Yep.
And this person was betrayed. By this person.
Oh, not quote betrayed. They were betrayed.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to, I don't want to put that person out there, but you know, that when I heard the story, I felt the level of hurt and pain in that betrayal.
Now check this out. Think about when the betrayal comes from a family member. Or someone that is close to you. Think about that.
Well, we've had that.
Yeah, and exactly, like what is the motivation for that?
You know, without calling out the family member, I will say that I don't think that I've been betrayed before. but I don't think I've ever been betrayed the way that I've been betrayed with this person.
Correct.
And it's still difficult for me. So it's like Malcolm X said, I can conceive death. Like, there's so many things that I can conceive, but it is so difficult for me to comprehend and wrap my head around why this person felt that they needed to betray us in the way that they did.
Yeah. But again, it's like
I'm using pronouns here.
Pronouns.
They.
Yeah. So when you step out of it and when you step back far enough and you go past the pain and you go past all the emotions that arise from that, right?
Yeah, it's
then
hard.
you start really understanding that whenever you're going, you have to understand that whenever you go into a situation, you also have to be aware that people are fickle.
Right.
And they're greedy for profit. I mean, like, Machiavelli wrote those lines and it's like, whoa. To me, it took me over my 40s to truly understand that what those words really meant. You know, by being around people and seeing just the way people talk and towards individuals, that they have no idea, the little disregard for how that person feels, you know, who is this person, you know, you assume things because of that. And that I could deal with those better, that type of like animosity, racism and all that stuff. I could deal with all that better than somebody that you know.
Yeah, but those are like, even with people that you know, there are signs that indicate or at least should give us, if we're aware enough,
but that's the thing,
insight into the fact that this person is the potential of this person can be to hurt me or to hurt others.
And that's the thing. The thing is that we can't conceive it. I have a friend, right? Very good friend of mine. And I remember telling him, you need to be careful around this person. And he told me, oh, you're crazy. You're being crazy. And I'm like, I'm telling you, you better be careful. Right?
What happened?
Not good things happen.
Right.
And afterwards he said, I should have listened to you. You know, and it cost him a lot.
But that's what I'm saying. You're saying that these micro aggressions, if you will, of people, you know, racism, remarks, disregard for whatever, those are the things that should make us like,
well,
you know
yes.
what I mean?
No, yeah. I mean, like, those type of things are easy to spot and easy to deal with, in my opinion.
But don't those highlight the type of person that individual is?
They could be. I mean, they could be. I mean, you're not going to get betrayed from somebody that you see it coming, right? Like, if you see somebody coming like that, it's like, oh, I know this person. Any moment they'll throw me under the bus, you know? So that I understand. That's not. The betrayal really happens when there is someone that is close to you, when there is someone that you're giving your trust, and we're going to get into that you're giving your trust, or some level of trust. That's when you see it. That's when it hurts more. That's when you get that et tu brute moment. You know?
Yeah.
That's like, you too? Really?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
That's the part.
That's painful.
That is the painful. That's the, you know, that line right there. Et tu brute. You know, you gave to this person. You catered to them. You helped them move up. You did all that, like Caesar did to Brutus, right?
Right.
And then that's the person that gives you that final blow.
Yeah.
That's the part that hurts.
Yeah.
The other ones you could understand, selfish and greedy and all that stuff.
So you're saying that the microaggressions that we were just talking about are not necessarily signs. Those are just kind of things like, okay,
yeah.
But I would argue that that those are the things that put me on ease or unease with an individual, and I'm like, I don't trust that person.
But that's what I'm saying.
I lose trust with people that have those microaggressions. Am I missing something?
Yeah, well, because those things you understand. Now you're on guard. Now you're like, okay.
Okay, so what you're saying is when you have complete trust in somebody, that level of betrayal is...
Yes, that's the one that really hurts, because that is betrayal.
Yeah.
When somebody that doesn't like you and
when
somebody...
When
you know it, it's not betrayal. Okay. It's like you just maybe let your guard down, right, and that person got in
and you feel a
and
little
took
bit
advantage of you, and you feel a little bit of pain. You actually feel more anger than anything. It's like, damn, I let this stuff happen because I knew this person was about to that. Yeah, that's the one that you get.
Okay.
You know, because you watch that person. It's like you're keeping your enemies closer so you can keep an eye on them. Yeah. Right? Okay. But it's the person that is your friend. Yeah. Right? That you the person that or the colleague or that close family member. Mm-hmm. Those are the ones that I'm referring to. Okay. Those are the ones that I think really get you.
That was the pain that I was referring to as far as the family that we were talking about, because I never thought that would happen, and then it did. Mm-hmm. And oh my God, I'm like still reeling from like, how did this, what happened? Yeah. Like what happened? You know what I mean? And it really was a lot of, and sometimes it still is like, what did I do wrong? Like what was my role in this? What make me understand? And there is no level of understanding. You just don't understand.
You got what you wanted.
That's it.
You got what you wanted.
Right.
You know?
They got what they wanted.
Yeah.
Right.
You got what you wanted.
Right.
Okay.
So let me ask you, what happens to us then? I know we've kind of touched on this, but what happens to us when we're betrayed?
Chaos. Mm-hmm. Complete chaos. You know, we talked about crises before, right? When you have a conflict and then your things are you begin to question things, and it throws us into chaos. Right. And the reason being is because number one, we're losing a sense of belonging. Right. Yeah. You know, we're losing a sense of security.
Explain that.
All right,
sense of belonging.
So let's say, for instance, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? When you have our physiological needs met, and then we begin to get our psychological needs met, a sense of belonging, a sense of security, a sense of community, a sense that you belong to someone, that you have relationships. Right. When that gets thrown out, it's chaos, because where do you go? Right. Can you trust again? Right. Can you believe again? Right. Can you allow yourself to be vulnerable and open to someone again? Right. For fear that this will happen again. Right. Right? Right. Because if you don't have that, if you can't get over that part, that chaos, and if you can't surpass that betrayal, right? Then you start closing yourself up from possibilities. Mm-hmm. Then you start closing yourself off from other opportunities that could arise, you know, and other things. Yeah. You know, it's like you become completely guarded. Right. Right. And that's one of the things that happen. Mm-hmm. You know,
that happens frequently in dating, in relationships.
Exactly. In relationships, right? When you build that trust.
I'm not going to date again because he did this to me and cheated on me. And that means all men do this, or all women do that.
You begin to generalize things and do that. And then you're not able to compartmentalize what those things really mean. Mm-hmm. You know, and we can't see the instance or the situation in isolation from everything else. Right. That situation, that instance becomes the end or be all of who we are as people, because it throws away everything. If you can't trust
everything you believe in.
Yeah. Our society and the way that we operate in tribes and in groups and in communities relies on trust. It's a trust. It's an agreement. I'm going to trust you, and in return, I'm going to be expecting the same thing back. Mm-hmm. That's the contract. That's that thing that binds people together. Mm-hmm. So when that's broken, right, what do you have?
You feel like you have nothing.
And when you have nothing and everybody else is there, now you could isolate yourself, or you could go to another extreme and say, forget everybody. I'm going to get everything that I could get from everybody, because if nobody cared for me, I'm not going to care for anyone.
Yeah, so I'm going to
become selfish.
Polar opposite. Right.
So you got that spectrum of reactions. Right. You know? Mm-hmm. And then you have to decide, actually, like, how do you move forward? Now it's a decision that it's painful. Yeah. You know, it's like,
and I think a lot of people, when you're in a situation like that, like, and I'll just speak from personal experience. And I will talk about the family thing, because that's like the most recent and most visceral, gives me visceral, like, ugh, it's like, it just disgusts me, you know? But when I think about that, I think about, I just lost my train of thought. Let me come back.
I I don't know. I mean, you're the one that's leading the conversation. I'm just sitting over here.
Well, I was a personal experience, the family thing. So, okay, we're talking about the spectrum. I went from feeling that I'm back on my train of thought. I went from feeling emotional, hurt, crying, sad, into like confusion, and then questioning like what did I do wrong? What was my part in this? What was my role? What could I have done differently? Am I a bad person? Really just examining all of my interactions with this person. And then going through, am I a good person? I mean,
You're going through the stages of grief. You're going through the stages of grief. You're going through denial, anger, you're bargaining, depression, and then acceptance, right? You are when betrayal happens, it's a deep grief that takes over you.
Yes, it's a mourning.
It's a mourning.
It's crazy.
It is. But the problem is if we get stuck in any of those stages and we don't go into acceptance, right?
Which can happen.
Yeah. And acceptance means a lot of things.
Okay. What?
You could accept the fact because, again, I believe that everything that has life there's a spectrum of choice, right? So you go into a situation and there is a spectrum of choice in which you decide where within that spectrum you're going to end up. You're going to end up with acceptance. And the acceptance could be, I hate everybody.
Okay.
Or this is a situation, I'm going to be open to other things.
So we get to acceptance. We do get to that stage.
Oh, no, we do get to acceptance, but it's how you respond to it. It's not just, I'm accepting that life sucks and that I'm going to die and everybody's going to die. So I'm going to just forget it. I'm going to be complete hedonism and not care about anything or anyone.
Right.
Or you could, that spectrum of good versus evil, or all or nothing. Right. Those polar opposites, that duality aspect. But there's a spectrum in between there in which you could say, okay, I got hurt on this particular situation with this particular set of parameters, and this is kind of like what happened. As I move forward, I'm going to be cautious when I'm surrounding the situations that look like this. I'm going to evaluate how I feel. I'm going to ask questions to see if this is really what I am seeing, because we do have a lot of blind spots. And then I'm going to move forward, trusting, but knowing that there's a possibility that this could happen. Or you could say, no, I'm not going to trust anybody. And you hear it all the time, trust nobody. A lot of rappers say that, right? Don't trust nobody.
Right.
Right. And do those type of things, because so then you have to choose within that spectrum, where do you lay when it comes to the acceptance of the reality of the situation,
I think that's like so much. I mean, I know that we end up getting to a place where we're going to make a choice. We make a choice, and even not making a choice is making a choice. It is. Right. So
because not making a choice, what he's doing is that you're closing yourself off.
Right.
If you're sticking with just that, and you're not, and say, I'm just going to stay here because I need to protect myself. Right? You're not evolving.
Right.
You're stuck.
Or even when you're, in interactions with other people, you become sort of subdued or hesitant to sort of interact. And so you're closing yourself off to what you said earlier, opportunities and things that can be really great for you if you allow yourself to sort of understand what happened and the betrayal and understand those feelings, even because it's really understanding like the process of it, right?
Yeah.
And understanding it is, and what you're saying is understanding it and not being, having polarized perspectives and points of views is what is going to allow us to develop and become better able to handle betrayal, because we're going to be betrayed. Right? It's going to happen.
So the idea is that we number one, it's we set expectations because without expectations as of a certain outcome, right? We want a certain outcome in the things that we would like to do, right? We have to set those expectations, but we also have to be open to the possibility that those expectations are not going to be met, or they're going to be partially met, or not, not met at all. So you have to be open to like those possibilities and that's a scary, vulnerable place to be. Particularly when it comes to trusting another individual, or trusting an institution, or trusting a certain type of environment. You always are going to be like cautiously worried, because if you experience that grief and you saw how horrible it felt, you don't want to feel that again, right? So you have to be aware, okay, how am I going to do that? But if you stay back and you don't progress, you don't take a step to move forward. You don't take a step to say, okay, I'm here, but I need to keep moving, because life will continue to move. Mm-hmm. The world will continue to move.
It's interesting because when you're saying this, it makes me think of the fact that now we are, we have another family member who has sort of been more involved with us, right? Mm-hmm. And I have been cautious but embracing at the same time.
Correct.
Because I want a relationship with this person, but I'm cautious because I don't want to be hurt the way that I was hurt before mm-hmm. by this other family member.
Correct.
And while they're two different people, I there's always that, like the thoughts in the back of my head of, mm-hmm. well, what if this happens? What if they do
There
that?
you go.
And but I also talk myself through, and this is why I'm relating to what you're saying. I talk myself through the feelings of fear, mm-hmm. the feelings of I could miss an opportunity.
Yeah.
With this individual. And I think about those things. And so when this person invites us to do things, instead of saying, no, I'm busy, I'm more like, okay, I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna do it. So that's what you're saying.
Exactly.
Because I think that it's an opportunity, mm-hmm. but I'm also still, I feel it. Mm-hmm. And like I was saying earlier, it's a visceral thing. I feel it in me now. Every time this happens and I'm gonna be with this person, I'm like, okay, let me think about this. Do I want to do this? Do I want to expose myself?
So now you begin to bargain as to, okay, how much of myself am I willing to give, right? So I'll give you an example. Like, to me, the betrayal that I felt that was more impactful recently, it's been work.
Okay.
It's been work related, right? And it was, and it's hard to say because I'm still kind of like, if I kind of like peck at it a little bit, I'm still angry about it, mm-hmm. And because of what I've saw and what I see, and then now it kind of like, and sometimes it fumigates a little bit more, like it just boils because of the things that I know that they've done to people and the accolades that they're getting. But it's like behind a facade, there's this darkness that to me, I don't see the justice in it, and justice wasn't done, not just for me, but for other people, right? Mm-hmm. So, but the betrayal was the fact that they used scapegoats of people to get what they wanted, and for people that you trusted, and the people that
they used people as a scapegoat.
They used people as scapegoats, and then you took people under your wing and showed them and all that stuff, and they took all the credit for this stuff, right? And then threw you under the bus when things didn't go their particular way, or because other people decided to throw somebody under the bus and nobody stood up for you, right? So it's like at work, it's one of those places in which we feel stuck when it comes to our grief, mm-hmm. because sometimes you could approach a family member and address the situation, mm-hmm. if they're willing, right? And you could begin to remedy that relationship. Mm-hmm. At work, it's differently, because if you either decide to quit or they decide to fire you, where do you put it? Where does it go? How do you deal with that? Mm-hmm. To me, it was very challenging, and it's still very challenging to this day. Even after being gone from that place for over a year or so, it was very challenging because you start questioning your talents. You start questioning who you are. You start questioning what you've done. It's almost like a really strong existential questioning, because you've done it for so long, and it's been like your career, so to speak, right? And then it begins to show you how easily you could be discarded, right? Because somebody else's perception, or because somebody else wants something else, or whatever, And this happens a lot. And I don't think that I'm isolated in the issue. I think that it happens a lot. But when you feel that, in your case, in relationships, in my case, when it comes to your professional career and the things that you dedicated your life to, and you gave your blood, you thought this was going to be like the end of it all, right? Staying here, but that hurts too, and that type of grief without an outlet becomes problematic, because then if you move to another place, you begin to not give 100%. You're not your actual self anymore. You begin to like hold back your capabilities, or you begin to become more tentative, take less chances, be less opinionated, do all these different things, because now it's like, okay, is this going to happen to me again? What am I going to do? So you got to be able to figure out a way to understand the pain, let go of it, and then kind of like move forward, because it does hurt, particularly if you love what you do.
Right.
And particularly if you, in my case, these are people that worked with me from the very beginning. When you 15 years ago you started, and it's like, you were counterparts, and people use your name as a reference, for them to get their job, and they ask you for things when they need a 360 evaluation and all that stuff. So to see that type of betrayal in your coworkers and the people that you work with, but it also enlightens you about your naive notions about hard work, giving you all, because you have to be able to understand the politics of things. So you got to wise up to that. It's not this, like, I think about someone like, for instance, Jordan Peterson, for instance, losing his, and there's a lot of professors in that same, if they have a completely different point of view, their job is at stake, right? And these are people that, but they spend their life in their work, and they're losing the job because they have a difference of opinion. Think about the betrayal of those institutions and how they felt, right? When they spend their whole life in research and things like that, just because they have a different set of opinion. Doesn't make them that it was a right opinion or what, it's just their opinion, just a difference of opinion and just a different perspective of viewing the world.
Well, that's a whole nother episode.
It is, but
I understand what you mean in terms of the betrayal, like
the professional
from the
professional betrayal,
right.
Because it goes, and again, we're separating. We're talking about the two. You gave your personal example about of familial and relations when it comes to that. I just kind of like felt the one that I really felt was the one professionally. That's the one that I felt. But either or both of them go through that same stages, you know, and you feel that.
And I didn't mean to minimize what you were talking about. I was just saying like that we could take that and make a whole nother episode, because the truth is like different perspectives and being able to have your own belief systems and the things that you believe in. Just because they're different doesn't mean that, you know, I should be let go from my job or whatever. You know, that is a type of betrayal, because that means I'm not allowed to believe, and I have to think the way that you do now.
Yeah.
I have to be like you. Right.
Yeah. And like I can't think differently.
Right.
You know, which is the foundation of Western civilization.
Okay. So that's another episode.
That's another episode. Yes.
Okay. So you told me in the beginning of this episode we got to keep it here.
We got to keep it here. We got to keep it here. Yeah.
So this is good. So just to kind of recap this episode, we have three things that we can keep in mind regarding our experiences with betrayal to assist us with our quest. Right. So 1. Get to the point of accepting that whenever you go into a situation, whether it's relationship, business, whatever that is, there is always the potential for betrayal.
See, and that's the realization that you have to come to grips with, right? Like Machiavelli says, you know, people are greedy, fickle. They're fickle and greedy for profit. right? You have to understand that in spite of all our progress, in spite of all our sophistication, right? There's still the mammalian brain in there, and the impulses of taking, of consuming, of destroying the opposite for our own personal gain, that it's in there inside every single person that you come across, you know, even the goody ones, you know, and you have to be cautious and aware that there's that potential. So unlike Malcolm X, who did not foresee betrayal and couldn't conceive of it, you have to be able to recognize it and say, this is something that could happen. And this is something that most likely will happen. Because if you are expecting something to potentially happen, right, it's easier to deal with, but it also allows you to be open, right? It allows you to be open because now you're going in there, I know that this could happen. I know that there's a potential for this. I'm going to go into it. And I'm going to do it. And that's the basis of a relationship, right? Because it could happen. Yeah. That's a relationship of a new adventure, of a new endeavor. You have to be that open, but also recognize that there's a possibility for that. Not being naive and not avoiding it.
Right. Okay. So 2, this kind of goes with number 1, but accept the reality that there will come a time when you will be betrayed.
That is true.
It's just a part of...
It will rain.
Right.
It doesn't matter, right? It will rain. Right. And you could feel betrayal. Like, again, some people consider your children going away and not having your same values as a betrayal, right? You will kind of like the company is moving in a different direction, and you gave your blood, sweat, and tears to that place, but they decided to go in a different direction. You know, their value systems change. Things evolve in a different direction. You have to understand that those things will happen. So you do want to be secure, but you want to be secure in something other than the ultimate things of relationship. You want to be secure in your value system. You want to be secure in the way that you conduct your life. You want to be secure in, you know, have a physiological foundation of how to keep yourself in good standing. If something goes awry, but
I think you really hit it on the head. I think having a good foundation of values is really what will carry you through these things. You know what I mean? Because if you have a low sense, a low self-worth, then you're not gonna make it, or you're gonna have difficulties, right? Yeah. But if you have a value, that's one of your values. I'm worthy. Yeah. Then self-acceptance. You can get through that. Yeah, you can get through that. You know what I mean? And that you know that there's room for growth. You know what I mean? That then you know that you'll get through it, right? Yep. You can handle betrayal a little bit easier.
And you could pivot to different directions when you're like, okay, well, I know that this, you know, that things happen. It's not really my fault. Right. I just need to move in a different direction. It's harder when you like set your career for a certain thing. It is. Right? And that thing kind of like goes away, but that also doesn't mean that it's the end of you.
No, I was just talking about that today with somebody. I was talking about how I am not 100, you know, with my job. I just feel like it's time. I gotta make a move. I gotta do it. You know, I just finished school, so I have to like just move on, right?
Correct.
It's time. But it feels like a betrayal because I feel like there should be more, that they should have done more for me, you know? But I also have to understand that it's okay. My worth is more important to me. And so it's time for me to make a decision to move forward. You know, and if it's not with that organization, then it might be somewhere else. And that's okay.
And that's okay too.
So, okay. And number 3, move through the stages quickly, the stages of, you're talking about the stages of grief, okay, quickly, and avoid getting stuck in the anger stage. Yeah, just elaborate on that really quick.
So let me just kind of like go over. So you have the denial. Oh my God, this shouldn't have happened to me. Oh my God, how did this happen? Right. You know, which is what Malcolm X was alluding to, right? Number 2, anger. Bargaining, when you start figuring, okay, well, is this? And then you got depression, you know, feeling depressed, and then acceptance, right? Anger. Anger is that point in which that's when, if you don't move past that stage, you're going to get stuck. And like your life becomes to get stuck, you know, because when you're angry, there's very little else that could come in there.
Right.
You know, there's no light.
Well, that's a blockage.
It's like a black hole. There's no light that's going to go through that.
It's like being in the Twilight Zone.
Yeah. So there's no light that's going to go through that. And the only thing that could actually break it, right, is, you know, how do you surpass anger? You got to dive into it and you got to break through it.
Confront it.
And you have to confront it. And you have to be able to eventually see it for what it is and then be able to move on. That is hard to do.
I think it really is too, coupled with what you just said. I think it's really about accepting that you're human.
Yes.
And that it's okay to feel what you're feeling.
Yes.
But it's not okay to stay stuck.
It's not okay
feeling.
to stay stuck.
Right?
Because again, the idea is to evolve.
Right.
And to move past it.
And you can't move past it if you stay angry.
If you stay angry. Because if you're going to stay angry at the world, at people and stuff, then what you're giving away is your essence.
Yeah.
You know, you're giving away your essence. You're giving away the part of the you of that's important.
Yeah.
And that's to find another way to continue your life and to continue to share that light that is within you.
Yeah.
You know?
That's it. I can't even say anything other than that.
No,
that's
you can
good.
say go ahead.
No, well, I was just going to say that I think that what happens when you're angry like that is that you're at your most vulnerable.
You are too.
Because
you really are.
Yeah. And I don't know if people will understand what I mean by that, because they might be like, no, when you're angry, that's when you that's the best of you. You know, you do this, you get revenge, whatever. But I would say that it's, for me, it has been my most vulnerable. Yep. Because I don't make good decisions.
Correct.
I am more not able to make a decision. Mm-hmm. I feel like I can be abrasive or negative, or I don't say exactly what I mean or what I say, or what I do say is just throwing bricks at people and not okay.
Sorry.
So I'm trying to think of a lot of different things.
You're not at your best.
Right. You're not optimal.
You're not at your best.
You're not.
You know what that reminds me of? It's like that in Enter the Dragon when Bruce Lee says hit me to the kid, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like not anger, you know. I didn't say anger. You got to have emotional content, right? But not anger. Mm-hmm. It's like when you're doing things in anger, you're missing a part of yourself. Mm-hmm. You know, and I've noticed that in a lot of the things that I've done when I was angry. Mm-hmm. You're missing a part of yourself. You're missing the best parts of yourself. Mm-hmm. And you have to be able to, yes, feel the anger, understand it, give it its due, give it its place, and leave it there. Again, easier said than done, because it's taken me a while.
All of this is easier said than done.
You know, but you have to be able to understanding and then move it. You know, one of the things that has helped me to move past the anger stage, it's really writing it down. Mm-hmm. Write down, write it down.
There's a lot of ways.
Curse on the paper, you know.
That's a good way to do it. I also think that sometimes there is nothing better than just going outside, taking a nice deep breath, or going to, if you're near a beach, or just go for a walk, trail, whatever. Because I think that connectedness with the earth and Mother Nature really is invigorating, and it just is like, it's like like not a facelift, but like going to a spa day.
Rejuvenation.
That's it.
Rejuvenation. Yeah, rejuvenation.
So, and I think that when you do that, you come back with a sense of clarity. There's like this, you clear out some space.
And there's still a lot of work to be done after that. You got to get up every day. You got to go out, and you got to go through things, and things are going to come up, and things are going to feel things.
It's like Groundhog's Day sometimes.
Sometimes it feels like that. But you have to kind of like just go through it and have the discipline and the wherewithal to continue to move forward. And that's the part that you cannot get stuck. Because, again, number one, we understand that it's going to happen. Number two, you have to be able to just deal with it. It's going to rain eventually. And number three, you can't get stuck in the anger stage. You can't get stuck in that, because then you're robbing yourself of your potential.
We hope you enjoyed this video. Comment below with your thoughts and additional ideas. And remember to stay connected by sharing and subscribing.